It's a miracle because I can meditate. I'm a type AAAAA personality. I make Soledad look like she's hypothyroid. I'm the best thing that ever happened to TM because if I can do it, anybody can do it. And that became the joke back in Washington, D.C., when my wonderful colleague, Dr. Norman Rosenthal, a fellow scientist at the National Institutes of Health, and I had gotten together about 3 years ago, and he told me he was writing a new book. And I said, gee, another one on seasonal affective disorder? And rock on, man, it sounds really cool. And he says, no, this is different. It's called Transcendence. I said, you've lost your mind. What are you doing? And he said, well, I've this whole thing about transcendental meditation, Pam, you have to do this. And I said, really? I have to schedule breathing right now because I was living on Virgin Airways between Washington and LA, filming for the Discovery Channel. I said, 4 days in a row, are you out? I can't even see my husband 4 days in a row. And you want me to do what? Stay still? Well, I'm also an athlete, so my idea of a good time is, well, in 3 weeks I'm running the Boston Marathon, to give you a small idea of how that one's going to go. Let the prayer circle start now. Just looked at those hills again. So I thought that was where it was until about a year and some change ago when Norm circled back with the galley of his book. And as authors, we usually exchange quotes among each other. And he said, read the galley and give me a really juicy quote. And I said, okay, all right. And then I cursed him because I couldn't put the galley down. It was that good. Why? I'm a scientist. I'm a physician and a scientist. I've dedicated my life to good science. And this was just wall to wall, the most profound science, finally showing that there is a very strong connection between what happens in transcendental meditation specifically and a number of disorders that we all know, everything from depression to PTSD to ADD, and it just goes on and on. And so I decided to do it. And then a small miracle took place. It fit like a glove. And I haven't stopped, and it's been 1.5 years. So let's look at women for a moment. Clearly, I share everyone's fervor and passion with what this whole theme today is resonating around, which is this women and stress. Is it just stress? No, it's something I call toxic stress. As the toxic stress heightens, something's going on in the brain. The prefrontal cortex is in charge of executive function. It helps you plan, strategize, organize. It helps you rein in the 3 I's: impatience, irritability, impulsivity. It allows you to be able to be creative. When all of those things are happening, you're in good shape. What happens under toxic stress? It's shut down. So is your memory. So is your ability. You feel paralyzed. Tara said it so beautifully, so elegantly. You're paralyzed. You're non-functional. Your prefrontal cortex is getting hammered right and left. So it's really imperative to reclaim it. You need to be able to get it back. You need to strengthen it. That's one of the reasons why I like TM myself, because I was promised a big brain. Now, raise your hand if you wouldn't want a bigger brain. Come on. Now, the rest of you are in deep denial. You want a big brain, right? So when you do something like transcendental meditation, we now have science. We have hardcore science with great tools, functional MRIs, PET scans, that allow us to be able to actually measure and see, visualize, observe, take pictures of what happens in the brain as you're going through transcendence. You turn on your prefrontal cortex, and the stress response itself, as you're looking through the limbic system, the amygdala, as you're looking at that entire hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, it's becoming quieter. As that becomes quiet, the prefrontal cortex is allowed to be able to optimally function. Who wouldn't like that? At the same time, when you're also leading a healthy lifestyle, doing this, exercising, for instance, etc., guess what you're doing? You're inducing the growth of more brain cells. It's called neurogenesis, or neuroplasticity in the brain. When that happens, you get a bigger brain. We've measured it. Big brain, we like it. So what's your reward out of this whole thing? Well, I think, again, Tara said it beautifully, and that is the whole issue of transcendence is centering to a core of peace, allowing yourself to be able to just take a moment and to be able to reorganize. Come on, you're on a hike, right? Don't you take a moment to rest? This never rests. And when you have PTSD and MST and all of these other forms of violence and trauma and toxic stress, there's no rest. You have to find the rest. And this is, by science, by far, the most optimal way to do this. I've already piloted this with a number of my patients. In early studies, we're going to be doing work with food addiction as one form of addiction and transcendental meditation, and the results have been nothing less than extraordinary.